The member from Hamilton East Stony Creek.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Premier. Yesterday, Freedom of Information documents revealed that the Premier knows that she's closing schools at full capacity based on a failed Mike Harris funding formula. Since 2011, the Liberal government's closed more than 277 schools. Can the Premier please tell the mums out there and the dads which of these 277 schools were operating at full capacity when they were closed?
Thank you.
Minister of Education.
Premier, Minister of Education.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member opposite for this question, because the very reason why schools are doing accommodation reviews is so that they can review and look at those facts, including the utilization of schools, Mr. Speaker, the utilization, the definition of boundaries for schools, and to ensure that that they are making the best possible decision on behalf of students in their local communities, Mr. Speaker. That's exactly the work that the school boards are doing in these reviews, and that's why we have to ensure that they have an opportunity to have this very difficult but meaningful conversation with their local communities, receiving input from municipalities, working together with their local boards. We've sent a letter just this week, the Minister of Infrastructure and I, asking them to continue those conversations because they are important to the decisions of the future of their schools.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, let me narrow this down a bit. There have been more than 20 schools closed by the Liberal government in my community of Hamilton since 2011. Some of them, Crestwood, Eastwood Park, King George, and can you imagine, Sir John A. Macdonald, Linden Park. Can the Premier tell Hamiltonians which of these schools were closed while operating at full capacity?
Minister.
You know, Mr. Speaker, I actually just said in response to a question that came forward from the opposition that we've actually invested in 810 new schools in this province and 780 expansions or renovations, Mr. Speaker. More than $16 billion in capital infrastructure invested in our schools. We're continuing to make these investments, Mr. Speaker. Just a few months ago, I was in Hamilton, and it's a great example of two school boards coming together to make the best decision on behalf of their schools, the French Catholic School Board and the French Public School Board, Mr. Speaker, to build one new school that will, in fact, have a community use, and it will also serve the needs of French high school students in Hamilton, Mr. Speaker. We are making these investments in local communities because they are in the best interest of our students.
Final supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, schools play an important role in Hamilton and everywhere else in the province. They support neighbourhoods. They bring communities together. Parents in Hamilton are absolutely furious to learn that the Premier has been closing schools that are full. They are furious that the government modernization plan runs contrary to the state community hub plan, and they know it. No one's fooling anyone here. Here's a couple more for you. Prince Philip, Roxborough Park, St. Thomas, and I could go on and on. Can the Premier tell parents in my community and across this province how many of these schools were operating at full capacity when they were closed? We want some details.
Mr. Speaker, it's important that we look at what are the facts, Mr. Speaker. What is happening? Because I just mentioned to the member that 810 new schools were built, Mr. Speaker, and in addition, 780 expansions and renovations, Mr. Speaker. And when a school board is doing an
Finish, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And when an accommodation review is happening, it's really meant for the school board to gather that feedback in terms of the utilization, the condition of the building, Mr. Speaker, and in fact, maybe a conversation like what happened in Peterborough, where we had two smaller schools that came together, Mr.
There's a few people who know what I'm doing. Carry on.
Mr. Speaker, like the example in Peterborough, where Minister Leal and I had an opportunity to announce $13 million to build a brand new elementary school with new facilities, Mr. Speaker, that will offer the best education for our students.